My name is Jakub, and one of the people who is responsible for Outriders. You may know my colleague Magda Hodownik, who is leading a training here. And so if you have any more questions after this presentation, you may approach. No. Just leave it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it anymore. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I just want to take you through what Outriders is and what we do. So our mission is basically to strengthen quality journalism, and we do this by actually doing 4 core activities. And I want to take you in particular about this first one, which may be confusing because we are named Outriders, and then we have this portal. Let's say portal, Outriders, which is our main visibility and activity, where we do our immersive work, as someone told. We'll see how immersive it is. And then the network is something which is not yet launched, but I already encouraged you to go to network.atra.rs. This is something which we'll be launching for a collaboration with people like you in the second half of January next year. Wachlarz, that's basically where we animate the community of travelers and reporters, and Compass is a new activity which we developed with Lviv Media Forum in Lviv in Ukraine. And now I want to take you through what we do on Outriders. So the first thing which we do is that we provide regular dispatches from 4 regions, and that those regions are Latin America, Ukraine, Middle East, and China, which gives us this nice map that we basically own half of the world. And this is why we basically decided, to go for China, because if we went go for Hungary, that would only be 1 dot there. So this is why, and donors love that map. So that's one thing which we do. The second one, that's the interactive/immersive work, and you see 5 out of 6. We've done 5. Well, yeah, we haven't done more than 8, depending how you calculate it. You have Suspended, which is about migration, Mosul, about Mosul, Debrief is not yet finished, Trans-Ukraine, and Lunik, those 2 were produced by Magda, who sits here. Then we do exhibitions where we try to take parts of the stories, or the stories which I have just shown you, Lunik and Mosul are also an exhibition. And then we have one more exhibition called Migration, which just accompanied TEDx in Poznań. And the 4th thing among Outriders which we do is media literacy, which is basically explaining people why Facebook sucks, and why we have to do some things this way or another. And this is almost all of us. One guy is missing, but he still didn't send a picture, so he's not here. That's his fault. So we actually combine not only people who are responsible for the reporting, journalistic part, but also in-house design, inside coding, in-house coding, but also event organization, and the most important, which is accounting and finances. And this is what we do, and that's really cool, but it's not cool if you don't know why actually we do it, and this is the most important thing. So there is a couple of initial thoughts which basically led to what we do, and you have to look at us from 2 perspectives. One is global, and from the global perspective, I will tell you that what we do is this immersive storytelling and so on. From Polish perspective, we talk about everything but Poland. So we basically are more or less foreign correspondents, who try to explain various issues happening to Poland. And there is a couple of things here. One is that we see a huge decline in foreign correspondents in Poland. In past 2 years, lots of major news outlets decided to let go many foreign correspondents, including the biggest one. And of course, the reason for that is very simple. It's money and business optimization. And on the other hand, what we see is that, for example, what we see is that because what we discovered during one of our previous campaigns is that we actually, we heard or read in some comments, it's like, okay, you say you want to do quality journalism, but why don't you focus on Poland? We need it here. And then I say but migration, Poland technically took in 0 refugees. They are not here. Whereas migration is a huge topic when it comes to internal political debate. And it was, for example, in our last elections in 2015, when the refugee crisis overlapped with our election cycle and had an impact on the final results, and so on and so on. And I found this, which I find really it's I don't know. On one hand, it's funny, but on the other hand, it's really sad. So basically, this is the question here, which you don't see, is you have perception and actual data. Anybody knows that? That is basically how many Muslims in populations there are. And you look at France, for example, 7.5 is the actual percentage, whereas the public perception is that 30% of the population in France is a Muslim. Now, Poland is like is basically a statistical mistake. And the feeling is 7%. So like what is it? Like if, I don't know, like every 15th person, so on your way to the coffee shop you should at least meet one, you know? And then of course Turkey, which is other ways around, you know, 19%, but they feel it's like 81. So I would say it's like with this Catholicism in Poland. It's also in statistics 99 by baptism, I would say, or but by actual feeling it's less. So this is one thing, and one of the reasons why we have this is basically the current system which is responsible for the information flow and how the information is created, how it's being misused, not only by fake news. Fake news is a nice word and buzzword and a new word for basically lies, but it's okay, let's leave it as fake news and so on, and that all gives us, and that misinterpretation gives us this. And basically, we vote not because of actual data, but we vote based on perception. So that's one thing. And then I was telling you about the decline. You can see here some data that basically foreign correspondents per country are going down. But you can see that, for example, that the most correspondents are based in France and Germany. And then Germans have the most, Germany have the most foreign correspondents based in other countries reporting to Germany. Poland is here, but this is data from 2015. I couldn't find any more probably there's so little of them that, and also the nature of work has changed. So there used to be foreign correspondents, or basically reporters specializing in a field, in a region, in a culture, and so on. And yeah, we do have some, there's more and more, I would say, like parachute reporters. So, you know, today refugee crisis, tomorrow elections in France, next day flood in Zimbabwe, and so on and so on. So you're basically a guy with a microphone talking to the camera, reading out loud tweets, because you get 90 seconds. And that decline is going on and going on. And I'm just thinking if there was something else. Yes, and there's one more thing, is that we wanted to have a different model. In a way, is that especially online media in Poland and generally they're still very much following the traffic growth model. And the traffic growth basically is not sustaining journalism, because I am not, and we are not, never bitching about journalists, because the journalists are okay in general. I am really complaining about publishers, because if I were to walk into a newsroom to any newspaper around us here, and I would say who wants to go to Thailand to work on a reportage for 3 months, I bet everybody would raise a hand. You see, we already have a volunteer here, but unfortunately, those are not the decision makers, and so it's everybody else. So we are also trying to disconnect those, because people are saying, "Oh, media suck." Yeah, in general, yes, but if you start to try to understand why is it, it's not exactly journalism. Journalism and journalists are simply not protected, and the values. Which they carry also. So, 10 more minutes. Okay, I got a rush. So this was our plan. We announced the work in January this year. And we have officially, and then we announced yet again our start in September, just because announcing start is always cool. But, is my camera or what?
Maybe you should just speak louder.
No. And you didn't notice it, or unless you didn't want to say anything, which doesn't matter in the end, the effect was the same. So, okay, that's more or less our plan, simplified in a circle. So, when we announced the work in January, we knew that we'll be headed to point 2, which is the crowdfunding campaign. But in order to crowdfund, there are 2 ways we thought we can crowdfund. One, well, there are two good ways and one bad one. So the good one is that we just go as and pretend that we are like those very poor people who have big ambitions and values, and we are just like, please give us money and maybe we'll save journalism, and that is okay. And then the second good one is that you do something really good and we have results, and then you say like, okay, this is what we do, and now we need more money basically to do it even better and more sustainable. The worst thing is that if you do something in the middle and you're like, when basically people go and come and say like, yeah, you want money for this? Yeah, but it's going to be better. So basically either show them nothing, so just fundraise for promise, and that's okay, or like hope that you're really good and you get it. So we knew that we were getting to this campaign, so we started to do our, I don't know, build our portfolio. Let's name it this way. Like showcase, we had one dispatcher from Ukraine doing the work. We've had, when we started the campaign, I think 3.5 immersive stories on the platform, but it was enough for people to select, okay, so, and now we have finished our campaign a month ago, successfully. And now we are basically, because for us, the campaign lasted 45 days, but for the team, it lasted much longer because the preparation also took a lot of time. So we are focusing on actually, I would say, providing or killing the internal chaos before we actually make some further move and trying to strengthen the base. So really focus on those two things which we're doing, which is through Outriders, which is dispatches and interactive reporting. And only after point 3 and 4 will be like, I don't want to say mastered by us, but at least that we know that we can provide dispatches regularly and do, especially do those five interactions which we have promised during the campaign. Okay, it still works. Then we will start to think about new products, and we have so many ideas that we are like okay with ideas for the next 4 years, and we just look also what the reality is sending to us, and the reality is very much connected to our business model. So our go-to model is to live off community and understood community, either by crowdfunding campaign, by one-time ad hoc donations, by regular monthly subscriptions, and we have calculated that if 7,000 people would pay us 20 zł, which is €5 a month, then we can do everything. And this is like really everything. Like if tomorrow there would be something happening in Vanuatu, we would be able to fly there immediately. Maybe not business class, but economy at least. And so this is basically community. Now, before we get to this community, we have 4 other different things we do. One is that we organize events, and we get sponsorship for the events. The second one is that we basically follow grants, and we just pray a lot that we get it. And then we are trying to develop a model through which we can actually work with companies through, I don't know how to say mecenat in English, and a Polish person can translate that? I don't want to say branded content because that's not it. I want to say mecenat, which is like... we can go with sugar daddy model. I can go with sugar daddy. Yeah, there is one big company with which we negotiate right now. I will give him a call after this, and I will call them, hey, sugar daddy. We'll see how that works. But if it works, you get 10%. And then and then the fourth one is basically, we don't know, but magic happens, and as we go, we may find some new ideas or so through which we work. And now I have told you, I think, I'm not gonna think because I have to rush. So I want to tell you now. I want to show you. I told you about the dispatches. So we looked at. So there is a difference between informing and publishing. At least I would. So publishing is that when the author is happy, yes, I published it, and informing is when you actually try to have your audience understand certain things. And those are two different things, because we provide currently, as you have seen on the global map, updates from China, Latin America, and Middle East, and I am not able to understand all the context from those different cultures and regions, and we do not expect that from our audience. We try to go this extra mile and give them So this is a really funny when we have a reporter who first of all writes a simple article, and then they have to go like, okay, so what people may not understand. And those yellow things which you see are basically exclamations, some added parts to it. Sometimes it's more text, sometimes it's a source, sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's like, oh, you know, because in Poland actually bigos is a big thing, and that's why we actually write this article about bigos, you know, just so we try to prove. What?
Bigos, what is bigos?
Something. Okay, Anna is, you know. Not bigot, but bigos. So those yellow things, which we try to do. Okay, now let's switch to. I've shown you those. I have what, 5 minutes left. Fuck it. Let's just choose one. So this one is not included here because we couldn't slice it because it's already sliced in here. But since Magda is here, this is Mogadishu, which is the newest one released by Martin Suder's photography. Yeah. So Lunik is done by Magda. No, this is not Lunik. Great, because I'm looking here. Oh, okay. Lunik is done by Magda. And it's about the Roma minority in Košice, Slovakia. And maybe because she's staying here, she can tell you more about it. Now it's wonderful, it got lots of recognition, and the author is sitting here, so any questions please direct to her. I would say, lots of you probably do this work, so you know that it always has a different UX, it has a different interface. We are still struggling with how to do it on mobile phones. And so on and so on, and with that we have to care about it because actually this one was released when? In April, and the code is getting old, so we are actually undergoing right now a refreshment procedure to go through all the things we have done, and like this one still has some room for improvement when it comes to the mobile version. This one was released in early September, and I like it because it's like pictures with. Now you don't hear it because you don't hear it, but there is actually an audio description by the author, and I like it because it's actually like from the design perspective there is actually no design. As you can see, those are like pictures, only pictures taking like all the screen, and then there is just the audio, and there is some kind of a description if you would click here, but that audio commentary does the magic in this case, and yeah, and I think if you would want to go listen to all of it, in Polish version that is 48 minutes. In English I think it's 33 minutes, and I have no idea what's the difference. Maybe because English is simply shorter, but still, and I think the average time on this one is above 20 minutes if you go to analytics. And I remember before we released this one, everybody was like, no one is going to listen to it. And then I once witnessed that a person recognized the author because of the voice on some conference. So I was mind blown by this. And network thing is basically, that's the problem which we have is that we want to do lots of cross-border projects. And then they are very much associated to grants which show up, and then we suddenly have this idea that we want to do something in Bangladesh, and then we have to spend a lot of time to actually find and vet people with whom potentially we could collaborate. So following the philosophy, if you have a problem, make it bigger. We want to give a tool which would help us and you and others to work on it. And this is a project which half of it you can see here, because it is going to be at some point in January next year. No. Work. Yeah. So the idea was, we started with, Poland, Warsaw discovered air pollution last year. We used to think that this nice fog we get every morning during winter time is just a nice fog. And then they ruined it, at least for me. And I suddenly started to feel bad. I don't feel bad. I didn't feel bad before that. But so the idea, we started, okay, let's do an interactive story about air pollution, but not only about Poland, but actually provide it with a deeper context. So we started to look for the people like in those cities which you see, and then they were each given an assignment, which I don't know would have lasted from 3 to 6 hours during one day. And instead of having those 8 people, and this Social 24 and so on was produced by Magda, but Magda was also she was based there in Krakow. And now I lost the thought. So instead of them, like, I don't know, Benjamin works on Monday, this person does it next week, Magda does it in 2 weeks, we told all of them, okay, why don't you do it all on one day? And besides the stuff that you have to produce and talk to your heroes and so on, why don't you just do it on one day, plus provide us with extra free social media posts. Yeah, so we took it into like 24 small event, and then we got even some money through it, like $160 donated, because people were also able to donate for this. But we also got it was also picked up by English media, which write about journalism. So we would want to do more projects like this because they are fun, but they actually work, and it's not that hard once you, this one took a lot because we had to think how we can do it, but I think we can take it more into something which we would call a methodology. But the most important thing is to have people who are able to respond quite fast in some cases, because we are just normal people. We always submit grants 10 minutes before midnight. It never happens 2 weeks before the deadline. And sometimes we find them simply very late, and there is little time to reaction. And I'm out of time, so I'm gonna say thank you. And I don't know if Kasia is here. Well, thank you. I did what I did.